This is my good friend Tahj Stephens. He made $2 million last year off one real estate deal. He's a real estate wholesaler and aspiring real estate investor. He worked his way from residential wholesaling to hitting a home run in his first commercial wholesale deal. I got the chance to sit down with him so he could tell me about his story and what led up to him doing a deal that would change his perspective on real estate investing forever. Tell me a little bit about who you are. What do you do?
I primarily do a lot of house flips. I've done probably close to 100 wholesale and fix and flip transactions. And over the past, I would say 2 years, I've been trying to make the transition more so from residential to commercial real estate.
So how do you make your money?
Right now, I still have a wholesaling company where we kind of source off-market deals, either wholesale them to end buyers or we'll just take them down ourselves and do a fix and flip.
How long have you been in real estate?
I want to say I did my first transaction in 2017 or 2018.
So about 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
How did you get started in real estate?
When I was in high school, I actually had a mentor who was a developer, and I used to really intern with him. I've always wanted to be a real estate developer. After just being in his office and being around him, he kind of suggested I get into residential wholesaling and house flipping just to build some capital.
So tell me about your first deal.
So my first deal, I was actually in college. I was handwriting yellow letters, basically just saying, hey, I'm interested in your house on 123 Main Street. Would you be open to a cash offer? So I was just handwriting hundreds of those letters, sent them out, and somebody called me back and it wound up working. It was a burnt house in a pretty bad neighborhood in Atlanta. I think got the house for $5,000, wound up selling it for like $6,500.
$6,500 for a house. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what did it look like when you were building your business?
There was a lot of trials and error. It took me a while to learn how to scale it. I was doing everything myself for a real long time, but after just attending a lot of masterminds and paying for a lot of kind of mentorships, I slowly realized how to actually scale a business and hire people and build systems to scale it really.
So what do you think somebody can expect to make if they get into commercial real estate?
So somebody's first year in commercial real estate, you can make anywhere from $50,000 to maybe a $500,000, just depending on where you're at, what your niche is, what you're focused on.
What advice would you give somebody who's just starting out in real estate?
I would say just find a mentor or pay for some type of course or mastermind where someone is teaching you and showing you kind of the mistakes not to make. It'll just shorten your learning curve.
So now that you've made a little bit of money, what do you spend your money on most of the time?
Nothing really. I mean, I like to travel, but I'm not really into cars or jewelry or anything like that. So I would say traveling.
Why do you think most people aren't successful?
If I had to put one reason to it, it would just be quitting too early. You may not make much your first year, your second year, your third year, but I believe that if you just continue to kind of press forward, I feel like anybody can be successful in it.
What do you want your legacy to be in real estate and what's next for you?
Primarily right now, I'm still learning the commercial real estate space. I guess at overall big picture, I want to build a portfolio of commercial real estate upwards of $100 million that I can kind of pass down to my children.
In your first deal, you hit a home run. So let's talk about that a little bit. You know, you made $2 million. So where did you find that deal?
That deal, I actually found that calling. I was just making a ton of calls to brokers, to property owners, and I wind up reaching a property owner that had an industrial building, basically 5 minutes from where I grew up. So it kind of just made sense to try to kind of pursue that opportunity.
So what exactly was the deal?
It was a 72,000 square foot warehouse building, and it was right off the exit. It was a perfect location. The property was highly dilapidated, and it needed a ton of capital repairs. But yeah, I mean, that was the overall. It was a vacant 72,000 square foot warehouse right off the highway.
What was the purchase price?
So we wind up purchasing the property for $1.64 million.
How much money did you have to put down?
We put down $300,000, and the seller financed basically 1.34.
So it was a seller financing deal straight up. There's no banks involved or anything like that?
Yeah, no banks involved. We put down $300,000 and the seller basically carried a note for the remaining balance.
So you're telling me there's actually sellers out there who will do seller financing?
Yeah, man, it happens every day.
Every day, okay, cool. So how did you sell the deal?
So originally we weren't actually planning on selling it. We were gonna hold it long term. 6 months into owning it, we actually just got an unsolicited offer from basically a huge private equity firm, and they made us an offer that we couldn't refuse, so we sold it.
So who was the buyer?
So the buyer was a company out of California. They own, I think, close to $1 billion worth of warehouse building in several different markets, and Atlanta is one market that they're heavily buying in, so it kind of made sense for them, and they just purchased a portfolio of warehouse buildings that were around the location of where basically the property that we owned was.
Looking back at that deal, is there anything you would have done differently?
Looking back, so we made around $2 million on the property. At the time, like I said, this was my first commercial real estate transaction, so I didn't even realize how good of a deal that we got. To be honest with you, I thought we were overpaying for it. So in hindsight, had I known that there was a buyer out there that would have paid, $2 million more than what we bought it for, I probably just would have wholesaled it.
And just for the people who are watching, what is wholesaling? Like kind of just a brief overview of what wholesaling is.
Wholesaling is basically just getting a property under contract and selling your rights to the contract to another buyer who's actually going to fulfill on the contract.
Did you have to put any money out of pocket yourself, or were you no money out of pocket?
Yeah, it was no money out of pocket for me. I just found a deal, negotiated the terms, and yeah, I didn't put a dollar into it.
So how's the transition been from, residential wholesaling to commercial real estate investing and wholesaling?
So commercial real estate takes a lot longer. There's sellers that I've been talking to now for 2 years that are still kind of on the fence. The deals basically take just longer to complete. Residential, basically house flipping, wholesaling, I could talk to a seller today and I could basically wholesale that property within the next 2 weeks. Commercial usually doesn't move that fast.
What's a realistic wholesale fee for a commercial deal, do you think?
I would definitely say 6 figures.
Six-figure wholesale fee?
100%.
That's nice. What do you think a realistic residential wholesale fee is?
$15,000.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now, so have you seen that affect your business at all?
Not really. We're still able to get deals under contract and wholesale them. Now, seller finance and creative finance is coming into play more than it has been over the past 2 years. But I would say that's the biggest difference. In any economy, if you get a good deal, there's going to be a buyer for it.
So you've obviously been successful in real estate from a young age. So just so people know what's possible, how old are you?
I'm currently 25 years old.
25. That's awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Appreciate the insight. I think people will find this useful and inspiring. So yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. No problem. Anytime.
You can look me up on YouTube as well, Graham Story Real Estate, or look up Tahj Stephens. He's going to start a YouTube channel as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Cool.
Cool.